What's up, Nathan? How are you doing?
Great.
Well, welcome back to the
Absolutely.
Can Connection. Before you think Jody has been replaced, he has not. He is just running late. So
I'm not.
he will be here anytime. And we are live now because, and we might be waiting on a few people to appear, simply because we had an error in the time. It was, I don't know what's up with StreamYard lately, but it couldn't possibly be a user error.
No.
I think it's just a matter of
Somebody hit an extra one.
hit an extra one, yeah, or left out a one,
There you go.
and then had it as PM. Yeah, something like that. But it is what it is. We're here. Jody's on his way. Maybe Tim will chime in at some point. But what do you want? What do you want to visit? What's going on with you?
Just 4 more weeks till Arizona. That's my 100% focus right now is Arizona State.
Now we can go on for 11 minutes, and then when Jody gets here, he can come in hot.
Yeah.
That's all he wants.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly. I mean,
we have the Manitoba Provincial Arm Wrestling Championships happening starting tonight.
how many people you guys usually get at provincials? So what's an average?
Should be a couple hundred entries, not necessarily people.
Yeah, entries wise.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Justin,
a fair
sorry.
showing for sure.
Yeah, Justin's comment. Sorry, man. I'm in my office, and on Fridays I get booted out of my house for a while, for my my housekeeper to go do everything. So it's either a vacuum cleaner in the background or an echoey office.
Echoey office.
Echoey office. Yeah. Couple hundred on average. We're doing a referee clinic tonight, which I'm taking part in, and then I'm one of the referees for all day tomorrow.
You know, I had a thought the other day. As you know, I'm a ref as well, and the way the certification process works, like the testing, like doing a written test, I understand. Like like when I tested, right, we had 2 master referees testing you on scenarios and stuff like that, which I understand, like in certain scenarios. But I think a lot of it, like the testing, needs to be done to see how you react in an actual event, right, based upon how you perform, right?
I will back you up on that 100% because most people get nervous when they're just in a room, like doing
Yeah,
a role play style of test.
agreed. And like a lot of the scenarios that are given during the role play style thing, you'll encounter those, yes, but you're also not going to encounter how somebody's reacts to you when you make a call, if you miss a call, stuff like that, because a lot of that comes into play because as a referee, you have to have a cool head. Like I've been cussed out in I don't know how many different languages now because of somebody doesn't agree with a call I made.
Well, and the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation is the one national governing body for arm wrestling. Yes, there are upstarts, but overall, the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation is the governing body.
Yeah.
We do the refereeing certifications to a standard that is recognized by both IFA and WAF.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the mixtape I made for my wife. We do the testing for all this stuff. Now, there's some other groups have come along and started offering referee clinics. Unfortunately, those people that take that clinic are not recognized anywhere. Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation. So the one thing that the MAWA recently did, which I agree with, is they discounted the entry to the ref clinic, the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation ref clinic tomorrow, for the people that took the unrecognized certification last year. So
that's cool.
And it probably did a good job in preparing them for what is coming up.
Yeah. And like people wonder about reffing. Like you can go on YouTube for anybody that's curious, and like Oleg's from Latvia, WAF master referee. You can do Jody from Poland. She's a former WAF master, current IFA master referee, and they both have YouTube videos out on stuff you may encounter as a referee or rules if you're confused about a certain rule. Like they'll clarify that stuff in their YouTube videos as well. So good resource for people, especially pullers, to learn how to cheat better.
Yeah. And I also suggested that we do some of the referees that are doing the clinic do some refereeing tomorrow for their final test. I'm not sure how that's going to shake out because our referee in chief is going to be in charge of it tonight for the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation. And in order to get your master level, though, in Canada, you have to referee the open tournament at nationals on the Sunday.
Yeah, see, that wouldn't bother me. I'm used to reffing stuff like that.
And you get evaluated by all the other master level referees that are involved.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they do at Worlds, essentially.
Yeah. So the test is the tournament, and that's
which is good.
Probably should be.
It should be that way with everybody, in my opinion. You know, even your junior refs, like you put them with a really good master referee who realistically probably doesn't need, in certain scenarios doesn't even need a down ref, and see how they perform, you know what I mean? Like, or have, another referee shadowing them to see if they are missing stuff and so on and so forth. Like, I think there's things that could be changed, in my opinion, that for the better. Like, you can keep the scenario stuff, especially for like junior level testing and senior level testing, but I think anything above senior level, it's kind of redundant because you already know what to look for, and it just depends on how you perform under pressure at that point.
Yeah. And sorry about the audio today, guys. It is my office.
How's the right arm?
About that
how is the right arm feeling? Back to training with it a little bit, or no?
No.
No.
No training with it yet. It's feels okay. I lifted my. I've done some things, just forgotten that it's injured, and done some things I shouldn't.
Yeah, I did the same thing with mine.
Yeah. But I mean, it's going all right. As we go on to these provincials, I want to ask your opinion on a couple of the decisions that were made.
Okay, shoot.
As an experienced referee. So as we lead up to the provincial championships, regardless of how these decisions got made, they got put in place with relatively short notice, with us as referees having to respond to this.
Okay.
Now, the first one was that there's a video replay allowed. Now, we do this at the national championships. We do it very specifically in the finals only. We do it from very specific camera angles that are set up for that purpose.
Yeah. Like on the pin pad, that way you can see, and then you have one facing the elbow pad so you can see anything that's a discrepancy there.
Now, at the provincials, they've decided that this is a progressive decision, which I don't agree with, because there's rationale for why it's done in a very specific way.
Yep.
But they're allowing protests in every match, not just the finals, and video replay from any source is being allowed to be brought in. So you can have someone with a cell phone in the audience that could be called upon to show a video if you're protesting a match.
Okay, so a couple points with that. A, it's going to make the event take exponentially longer because every person is going to want to protest, unless there is a protesting fee. Is there a fee that has to be paid? Okay, well, then like if money's tight, then some people might not be protesting. The second point about the any camera angle, it's irrelevant because no camera angle is going to be precise. The reason you have the cameras mounted to the tables during your finals events is so if there is a missed call, then you have that exact angle, knowing that your call is going to be exact, and you have your replay ref that's checking that at all times. I've encountered it so many times. People are like, look at this. It shows that it wasn't a pin. Well, your camera angle is down from the bottom, so it's looking upwards. Yeah, it's going to look like it's not a pin. Or, oh, look, I pinned this guy, or it's from the top. And it's like, well, how can I tell? It's not parallel with the pin pad. So I think it's terrible. Absolutely terrible allowing any camera, because you're going to have a lot of disputes. I've been involved with several of them where 3 or 4 of us head referees will get together, look at it, and be like, well, it's indecisive evidence because the camera angle's not good, and then we throw it out. So you're gonna have people pissed off.
There's actually three problems with that I can think of, like three major scenarios where it would come up that it wouldn't be an accurate thing. So an elbow foul is one of them.
Yep. A
Uh,
pin.
Depending on the angle, it could show the elbow off a side or a back when it isn't. The pin, it could show a non-pin depending on the adjustment of the camera angle, or it could show a pin based on the adjustment of the camera angle.
100%.
And sound and sight don't travel at the same speed. So if you're calling a fast start, it may or may not show that accurately.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, that's a the other thing that's bothersome about it that I have an issue with is that they gave certain people authority over who can override a referee's call. So if we have, or who can settle a dispute. So you have two master level referees at a table and they agree on a call. One of the people that can dispute that call is the event organizer, who may or may not be a referee at all.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, because typically, like when I go to events, there's one referee, your tournament head referee, and they settle all disputes. Like, so like if you and I are reffing together and I make a call and then you don't agree with the call, then we would go to the tournament head referee, be like, this is what I saw, this is what I saw. And the tournament head referee would then be like, well, we'll just call it a no call and we'll move on and redo the match. Or are you sure this is what you saw? And then we come to a conclusion like that. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, not a person that maybe not has a clue.
And when you referee at the national championships, good day, Jody Williams.
Mr. Jody.
When you're refereeing,
sorry I'm late, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
When you referee the nationals, you have a head referee that handles the dispute, and if both referees are in agreement,
then there is no dispute.
There is no dispute.
No,
so it's not. You're not going to win that protest.
Exactly.
One of them has to have seen something that was maybe a little off.
100%.
We're talking about video replay disputes and disputes in general, Jody, because the tournament I'm refereeing tomorrow, they're allowing disputes in every match, not just the finals. They're allowing video replay from any source. And they're allowing people who aren't referees potentially to be the ones that settle the dispute.
Wow.
Well, that's my thoughts. And honestly, it's polarizing because I don't think people realize the history that we went through as the Canadian Armwrestling Federation to get to the point where we allowed a dispute in the finals with specific video angles.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. I mean, you see it at Worlds, like WAF Worlds, WF Worlds. They have them, which is wonderful. Like because like there are going to be I mean, the one that bugs me ultimately the most was the Sandras one a couple years ago, where he lost the left-handed finals because of a call that wasn't actually a call. But that's another story for a different day.
Yeah. Well, what's the other thing I was going to bring up? And I don't want to just seem like I'm bitching about the Manitoba Arm Wrestling Association, but because it's near and dear to my heart, I was president for over a decade. I ran 2 national championships as the head of that organization.
Well, yeah.
And we have an election on Sunday. A couple of weeks ago, there was a meeting where they decided that the voting body would include everyone 12 years of older or 12 years of age and up when picking the new executive.
That one doesn't make sense. What's the legal voting age in Canada?
18.
Okay, well, that's your answer then.
Well,
there's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
It seems reasonable to me. And my frustration isn't that they're making these decisions, it's that they're making these decisions without consulting with anybody that has a history in the sport at all, outside of that core group.
Sounds like that the core group is trying to stay elected to their position. That way they're appealing to the children.
It's going to bring all kind of issues down the road. I gotta say it, in my opinion, it's almost that you can look at 2 scenarios, either too many cooks in the kitchen or too many chiefs, not enough Indians. So that's just the way I see that.
Can't use the word chief now, Jody. It's
Harlan's
offensive.
gonna make a video for you now, Jody.
Oh, well, shit. I've taken so much heat the last week, so it's like whatever.
Hey, it's 15 minutes. You're allowed to swear now. Oh, wait, you have to be on here 15 minutes for you can swear. That's right.
Oh, damn. Okay.
We're 15 in. Well, let's gloss over the elephant in the room, eh, Jody? What are we?
I'm not touching it with a 200-foot pole. I'm out.
Here's my
It
deal.
depends on what we're talking about here. There's so much that went on. So
Nope, not doing it.
Well, it's a bit of a dog pile, isn't it, on both sides?
I think, without getting too deep into what's been talking about the last. Hey, Paul, how you doing, buddy? Speak of the devil. Here you go. I think we can address the elephant in the room. Without getting too deep into that. The way I look at it now, going forward, and I have a whole, 6 days to digest this thing. Miscommunication. And I think, if we all are on the same page, and I said this earlier in the week in my show, where not only do the guy of a certain federation and whoever's putting on those tournaments, not only do you have to be on the same page, I think some people weren't even reading the same book, and that's why you get all these different issues. The corruption in the sport is irritating to me. I even sat there after and I didn't get a chance Tuesday night to watch the whole Ryan Grondin live because I was at work. But as I came home and I got to my house, I actually stopped, parked the car, put on my dome lights in my car, and decided to make a video. And I think, with all this hee-hawing around and, people blame each other, that kind of stuff. And what saddens me in the sport, and the three of us have been in the sport for years and years and years, and it never used to be like this. And my whole thing is that you got guys and girls with their respective teams training in the gym, training, whatever, but yet all that energy that they put in those training methods get behind a keyboard, and we start bashing one another. And I think we kind of lost sight of what are we training for exactly? Are we training for the sport, the competition? Are we training for, to get behind there and bash people? I know it's unfortunate now we live in a society where it's cool to bash people, especially with a lot of mental health things going on. That's kind of messed up. Also, I think the drama needs to quit. I mean, there were times where I sat there and said to myself, you know what? I wish we go back to the underground arm wrestling because you didn't have all this nonsense. So with social media, it's done good things for our sport. It's done bad things for our sport, And I think, if we just need to get back to the basics and go, hey, what did you get in the sport for anyway? The politics? Did you get in to compete against people? What exactly do you get into the sport for? And once we get back to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, hopefully we can go forward. But I just think it's just stupid. The corruption, the power tripping, I'll say one thing. I'll let you guys take it. And since Paul Talia's in the chat, I'm going to say this too. So one of the things I have an issue with, right? Well, there's a lot, but I'll point this one out, Ingan supporters. Oh, we might get shut down now. Ingan supporters. There were a lot of Ingan supporters out there, rightfully so. And what they were saying is that, how dare someone says Ingan's this, that, and the other, where my relationships is cool. He's cool people, which might be fine. But you're speaking on your interactions with Ingan, not somebody else's. And I think the problem we have is that everyone's basing on their actions. Well, Ingan treats everybody like that. Not necessarily. Obviously, it hasn't, I think everybody wants to be heard, which is good. But at the same time, it's just you can't base everything off of your interactions and think that's the way it is, because sometimes it's not. And I'm going to leave it at that and let you guys take it from here.
Well, I think that's, I know Nathan's just chomping to get in here on this discussion. I agree with you, Jody. That's probably like the most insightful point I've heard about this whole thing all week, is that you can't judge the man based on your own interactions when something else is going on. I can tell you that Engen is a friend of mine. I will tell you that he's the Dana White of arm wrestling, and nobody's told him that because he reacts like he's in the trenches, and he doesn't need to. Like, he doesn't need to, like, defend himself and say that other people are enemies of the sport. He doesn't need to come out and, respond to everything. He doesn't need to. He's the guy that's putting together the big show. And maybe as long as he is authentic, he does not need to be apologetic for a lot of this stuff. Quite honestly, there's still a choice at the end of the day where you want to compete. And if you don't want to go and do the WAF thing or go down the path of East versus West, there's options out there. But focusing on, what's wrong with someone's organization, if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
I'm glad you brought that up because this is where I want Nathan to speak up. This is where I want the chat to speak up. So here's the thing. Now, I guess we can all agree that not too long ago, there was a statement saying that if you compete in this organization, that you cannot compete in East versus West. Cool. But here's the problem. Here's one of the problems I got. Who made the rule that everybody wants to go down that path? Right? Like, if I don't know who said it, Chance, Paul, I don't know who said it exactly, but that statement was uttered out there. Well, you can't compete in East versus West if you go there. Okay, fine. But you know what, though? Not everybody wants to go to East versus West. Not everybody needs to be at East versus West. Not everybody's an elite puller. Let's get that straight, okay? So the question, through all this, the question was asked to me, oh, Jody, you mean to tell me you wouldn't go to East versus West if Engen offered you that, knowing that your hotel paid for, knowing, that your flights paid for? I'd say no. Want to know why? Because I know deep down I'm not East versus West material. That's just being real. Not everybody's on that level. There's only a handful of people, guys and girls, who are on that level. Let them do all that. Let them do the king of the table, that kind of stuff. There are way too many organizations, way too many promotions out there to make it seem like we all need to be on that path. Because if we do that, then we fall back into the WAL where you get the same guys recycling, regurgitating matches over and over again. We try to get away from that. That's why, the rebirth of Arm Wars. That's why Arm Guys, Knuckles Up,
Well, I agree with a little bit what you're saying, Jody, but I think the pool of pullers, right, at East versus West is significantly larger than what the WAL had.
Right.
So, I mean, you're going to have some matches that are rematches and stuff like that. But at the same time, just the pool of arm wrestling of elite pullers at this point is bigger. And I'm using the word elite, like anybody that goes to WAF and finishes top 3, you're an elite puller. I don't care what anybody says, because that is not an easy tournament to win or to even place in. So any of those, you take anybody that finishes top 3 in WAF, you can put them in East versus West easily. And that's a lot of weight categories.
We're talking about the top 1% of the top 1%.
Yeah, I think the pool in North America, yes, is significantly smaller than what it is in Europe. And that's the way it's always been. So, I mean, what does that say for North America, really?
And that's what I was speaking of North America, not so much across the pond.
Like, I mean, I think everybody's goal should be to make it to the highest stage they can possibly make it to, right? Whether that's a nationals, whether that's a worlds, whether that's here or there. Nobody should settle for being, I guess, mediocre would be a good word. I don't think anybody gets into the sport to be mediocre or pull as an amateur their whole entire career. You should be like I tell my daughter, this is a great analogy I use for her. I tell her to shoot for the stars, and if you land on the moon, you're still doing great. So everybody should be shooting for the highest stage they possibly can. If you make it through a qualifier and you qualify for an East versus West, you earned your spot there. You did something very minimal people have even taken the chance to do. So take your chance, run with it. If you go there and you lose, so what? Now you know what you need to work on. Now you know how to get better. Take take your licks and keep on kicking. It's simple as that. Like, there's no sense in sitting here going, well, he said, she said, this, that, and the other, when everybody needs to be trying to get better. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you, like, my goal is to ultimately make it to WAF Worlds. Like, that is something. That's why I've gone out and got one of the best coaches on planet Earth. Like, I'm not settling for being mediocre. I went out and hired an amazing coach that is already making me exponentially better. And my goal is to, it won't be this year, mind you. It might not be next year. It might be 2 or 3 years from now. But my ultimate goal is to get over there and try to medal. So
I completely agree with that. I don't know if it's a case of people, I would say, and Jody, you might not agree with me on this, but I would say that most people would aspire to be at East versus West at some point in their career.
I 100% agree with you, Ryan.
Now, the issue is most of them will not get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's plenty of options. And there are some, like, I like to use the UFC, for example. Nobody ever says, hey, I got into mixed martial arts to be the Bellator champion. They just didn't. They get into to be the UFC champion.
Or Pride, when Pride was at its heyday.
Pride. Yeah, or Pride. Yeah. So there may come a time when there's a challenger for that. But, I mean, as much as I have issues with the way WAF operates, it's still the hardest tournament in the world to win.
Yep.
I'm not stupid. Yeah, we all know. I mean, if it's competition at its best,
I mean, right now we have our UFC and we have our Pride, right? We have East versus West, which is our UFC. We have our Pride, which is King of the Table. Like, everybody should be trying to get to one of those events if they aspire to be. If they just aspire to be good on a national level, be good on a national level. Leave that to everybody else, but don't be bashing those that want to get where they want to be. Like, I would love to. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I wouldn't want to be at East versus West. I would absolutely 100% kill for that opportunity, whether it's to be there as a referee or a competitor. Obviously, a competitor first would be first and foremost, but that's where I aspire to get to. If I get there, cool. If I come up short, no big deal. I know I at least gave it 100%. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, man, you shouldn't be going to this. Man, you should be trying to get to that. Work hard.
As a purist, East versus West and King of the Table are like the pro leagues, and yeah, they're awesome.
Yes.
Me, the WAF title is still the most important title in the world.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
and a world championship at IFA possibly will be on par with them at some point. I mean, back in 1997, and we're digressing like crazy here, but in 1997 when WAF split, and in 1998 there was 2 WAF championships.
Yep, I remember that.
World Arm Sport Federation and World Arm Wrestling Federation. And they both denied the existence of the other and said there was only one world organization because it was just a weird way of playing semantics. It was arguable that one of those was, for a significant period of time, the better tournament. And then at some point, it switched. And the other one, all of a sudden, was the one that was being followed. And one of them faded away into oblivion.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen, but at the same time, you cannot go back, and history will not tell you which one of those was a superior win. No. You will just see that someone won a world title at one of those events.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's one of those deals where I don't want to say the same argument, but at the same time, you tell anybody back in those days who went to Petaluma every year and won.
Yeah.
And try to tell them that wasn't a real world title, they'll sit there and, browbeat you for saying that,
Well, I look at somebody like Kamil Jablonski. Kamil Jablonski, what was it, last year or the year before, won IFA Worlds.
Yep.
Where's Kamil now? Kamil is pulling for the top promotion in our sport right now. I mean, they could have easily been like, oh, Kamil, you pulled for IFA, you're banned. Like, he went there, he got his reinstatement, like anybody else can do if they are banned. And he got his reinstatement through WAF, and now he's competing at East versus West. And he's also, I mean, people can say what they want, but he's also competing at Knuckles Up. So
he can do what he want to
do. He's being left alone. And that's nice to see that there are still some of those people that are being left alone.
I mean, we can use Justin Bishop as an example. Justin Bishop competed East versus West. Justin Bishop just pulled the 176 round robin left-handed. Dustin Hyatt did the same thing, competed in both arms, competed East versus West. I mean,
Is it the fact that they're leaving them alone, or is the pushback against this actions that they've been taking
I mean,
actually getting somewhere?
I mean, they're competing. That's all that matters. They're not on. They're not out here. They're grinding in the gym and they're giving it their all. That's the important thing. That's what everybody should be doing.
The key word you said in that, Nathan, was competing, and you don't want to get to a point where let's talk about contracts because they're out there. And every contract's different, but I like the fact that Dustin and Justin, not trying to rhyme or anything, but I liked how those guys were actually, you know what? Even though I competed there, I still want to compete. I don't want to sit on the sidelines and wait for that call.
Oh, I mean, the UAL had exclusive contracts back in the day. The WAL had exclusive contracts. I mean, the contracts aren't new. No. So, I mean, I don't see why people are sitting here bitching about contracts. Well, like, I'll tell you this. If I had a contract that was, this is just from my perspective, guaranteed me, let's say, 3 matches a year. Every 4th month, bam, I'm pulling. And I had the freedom to, let's say, go out and pull my opposite hand whenever I please, but I was contracted under one arm. Okay, cool. Let's do it. If I'm guaranteed money and I'm guaranteed 3 matches a year, why would I turn that down if I still have the freedom to go do whatever the hell I want left-handed?
That's a very different scenario because the evolution of the contracts has happened. So the East versus West contracts, from everything I've seen, is they're relatively reasonable and allow flexibility.
Exactly. I mean, look at Michael Todd. Michael Todd is a great example of this. Michael Todd was doing his quest for 100. Remember, 100 first places until he unfortunately tore his bicep. Yeah. He was contracted with East versus West, but damn it, he was still going out and pulling these tournaments because he was allowed to. Nobody told him he couldn't.
Yeah. Right. And you go back to the UAL days and the WAL days, you basically signed away likeness rights, but you could still get permission.
Did you even to pull the tournaments, even to go compete at a WAL tournament, you had to sign an exclusive contract to only pull for WAL?
Yes. However, I will tell you this from experience. Even though you had a contract.
Yeah, they weren't going to do anything, but
you could ask permission to go pull somewhere else, and normally they would say yes. The only
but I'm just saying, though.
The only way they would say no is if you're going to pull against somebody that they plan on matching you up against in their organization.
No, I understand, but I'm saying even to pull their tournament series, not a super match series, a tournament series, you had to sign a contract.
And now we're in a kind of a similar weird scenario, and everything's kind of come full circle because even WAF is like, without a contract, forcing people to pick one or the other, because if you pick the other, they'll ban you. And as far as IFA goes, but we don't know that, but the rumor's out there. And I just don't think it's, I'm digressing again and changing slight directions because I'm going to be sitting with a guy who has a very good reputation in this sport and thinks that WAF is the be-all and end-all as far as the history, the competition level, the organization itself. And because of that, he's willing to accept some of the decisions that the leadership are making as far as banning athletes. And I need to ask this gentleman that question. Are you okay with athletes being banned?
Well, I just hate the fact. One thing that bugs me, though, about the whole, but since we're on the ban topic, is people saying Engen's banning these people. Engen has nothing to do with banning anybody. Engen, the WAF is the governing body, in Turkey. So he has to abide what the Turkish Federation says. He can't just go against that because then East versus West is no more. So people need to get off those, Engen's going to ban you. No, Engen's not going to do anything. Engen's going to listen to the Turkish Armwrestling Federation and abide by their rules so he can continue, East versus West. And thank God he's doing it because we need that in the sport right now.
He might in his own mind ban somebody because, someone has pissed him off and he will never bring them over again.
Yeah, that's a different scenario, right? Altogether. But he has zero to do with bans and people sitting here bashing him like, he's going to ban somebody. No, he's not. He doesn't. he can say, I don't want this person at my event and go forward with that. Yeah, completely. I mean, that's his right as a promoter. I mean, any promoter can do that, right? But he's not issuing WAF bans.
Yeah.
So,
all right, you guys ready to move on to something else?
yeah, we got
Please.
Knuckles Up next weekend.
Well, I want to ask you a question here. I want to ask you a question before we get to Knuckles Up,
Okay.
which is one of the most, we're going to, Knuckles Up, of course, I'm looking forward to that extremely a lot because that even makes sense. That's one of the events I'm looking forward to the most, attending and participating in, even though I'm not competing.
Yeah.
But then I saw at the Global Elite event that I'm scrolling through social media and I see that Pablo is coming out of surgery on his left arm.
Hmm?
And then within 24 hours, I see Global Elite has announced a match between him and Cody Merritt.
Yep.
Left-handed?
In September.
Yep.
What the heck did he have done to his left arm?
I
My
don't
question for
even
starters.
know. If anyone has any details, please.
That's 5 months. So if it was something super major like a UCL, a bicep, any kind of tendon work, I
Well,
don't
his
see that being
word-
ready in 5 months.
His words were that he was contemplating retirement or surgery, and then he picked surgery.
Well, if it's that serious, how the hell are you going to compete in 5 months?
Well, against the guy that's, when he was
Number
at
one, and
Buffalo.
he's number one in North America right now. Cody is left-handed.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Before we get your full opinion on this, we do have a super chat we got to read. Dan Flexman, do you think there would ever be a WAF champs versus IFA champs event? I'm the current IFA disabled champ. I'd love to match with the WAF disabled champ. Unlikely.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably a Slim and none, and I think Slim just left the building. So,
yeah. Appreciate your super chat.
It's a good question, though. Oh, did you see? Speaking of which, real quick, did you see your fellow Canadian Ali won the left-handed East vs. West Club?
Yeah.
Oh, Hamadaya?
Yeah, he beat Artem left-handed. That's an impressive win for sure.
That's a great win.
Okay, Arm Wrestler Jeff says Pablo had bone spurs removed. Perfect scenario. That makes sense now.
Yeah, then that's different. You know what I mean? Like that's a relatively, I don't want to say minor surgery, but routine, I guess would be a good word, right?
Okay.
So you could bounce back from that in 5 months pretty comfortably, I'd say.
I've had bone spurs in my shoulder before, and I remember it happened in March, and then I was competing by July. So it's legitimate.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. And I was going to say, if it's something major like a tendon or a ligament or something like that, there's no way in hell he'd be ready in 5 months.
Not my monkeys, not my circus. Cody can't be number one. Cody is number one.
Cody is number one. How can Cody not be number one?
Cody is number one.
Who's number one then?
Was he basing that off the match he had with Corey West back at the Monster Factory? Is that what he's basing that off?
I don't know.
Because last time they pulled, Cody beat Corey. So
at the finals at
don't you?
World. Oh, everybody knows who won.
I know. But yeah,
Cody's the guy. The only match we haven't seen is Devin versus Cody.
Yeah, I was going to say Cody and Devin. Yeah, and now that could be interesting, honestly. Because if you watch, I mean, this is just from perspective view. Cody gave Alajan a hell of he gave him a lot harder match than Hermes did at East vs. West. So
that's true.
A lot harder match.
Yeah, and I believe Cody has beaten him at WAF.
Yeah, so that tells you Cody's level right there. So
yeah.
So anybody thinking Cody's just some bum, he's definitely not.
Yeah,
that is a dangerous man on the left arm.
Very tremendous side pressure.
So it's bone spurs, so we don't have much to worry about. So we will see a good high level match.
That's a great match then, yeah. I don't think Pablo beats him in my opinion, but I don't see it.
Stamina will be a factor. It's a super match.
And Cody doesn't seem to really run out of gas, so especially if he's in control, he's not going to run out of gas.
Yeah. I would say that Pablo probably takes the early rounds.
I could see Pablo
Maybe.
taking the first round
Yeah.
and then Cody making an adjustment and coming back. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. High five.
I
What do you
can't
guys
predict.
want?
I'm doing the show. I can't predict. I'm not allowed to.
Well, I'll do it then.
Well, you can predict.
I'm
I
good.
mean,
Yeah,
we
you
should
can
wait till
predict.
next week for the predictions, but I'm not going to make predictions either.
Yeah, he can't. Ryan can't. He's going to be commentating. Jody, why can't you?
I'm doing the same thing
Uh-huh.
to a certain degree.
Okay, well, so. Ask me then. I'll tell you my opinion.
All right, who's winning the Myrtila
Jablonski?
Jablonski match?
Right, Jablonski wins. I think he's going to get right. I think Myrtle is going to try to catch him outside, and it's going to be too much on his back, and he just presses through him.
I'll make comment. I won't predict, but I'll make comments. Now, here's comment number one, because I like Jablonski, but can someone straighten that dude's shoulders? Way too many times you set up, and he's like this. I'm like, come on, dude. So let me ask you a question. Honest question. You want everything to be even Steven, right, on the setup? Yes, can we agree with that?
Well, rules have changed slightly, so but I mean, yes, for the most part, you want your shoulders are supposed to be square.
You see, y'all see my wrist right now?
That is not a rule anymore, Jody.
Really?
Straight wrist to the short side of the table is no longer a rule. So the wrists no longer have to be flat to the short side of the table. If we are both slightly turned in this way, but our wrists are straight and our shoulders are square, match can still start.
So even if your wrist is kind of like that,
no, you can't start with a kickback wrist.
He kind of, it seems like he starts like that, unless it's the bad angle. Because if he's kind of going like this already.
Yeah, it's already helping. But what I'm saying is, the rule used to be your wrist must be straight to the short side of the table, which, but if you have two people wanting to hook, they're both wanting to turn this way slightly, right? They don't want to be this way. So that rule was created. They changed the rule to where as long as the wrist is straight, you can have slight supination. I'm not talking you can be this way with a straight wrist. But if it's a top, if it's a top roller versus a hooker, and the top roller wants to be straight to the short side of the table, it's going to be it rolls back to the short side of the table.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, as a referee, I would love to know how that rule is, because it just seems, like I said, maybe it's the camera angle, but
the wrist has to be fully straight, no cup, no kickback.
Because that kickback favors him right off the gate. So,
well, I mean, yes, unless you're a very explosive dynamic and you can turn this way quick, and then it kind of negates everything he does.
Right.
And there's a case to be made that, because I've seen photos of it right before they go, that Sporong's shoulders also were not square.
Yeah, exactly.
But that falls on the ref,
Well, I mean, you have to remember too. Some rules are looser than others at some of these events. Well,
the one thing that I do not know yet about the high five is who the referees are.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
Is it not Sean Hancock and Jody from Poland?
There's no indication. So they were there at the first one. They weren't there at the second one.
The last one was Oleg's and that guy from Germany, I think, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I mean, the issue we had, high five number one, some took exception to the fact that there were IFA referees. There we go again. Back to that. And then in the second one, I don't know where those refs are from. What organizations?
I don't know either on that one. I know where Oleg's is from.
What organization does he normally ref for?
Oleg's is a WAF master referee, but he's also ref king of the table in East vs. West as well.
So we should assume that that's the quality of refs that are coming to this event.
I would.
Yeah. I know that those guys will not have, questionable refing. They will hire the best that are available.
Yeah. I mean, everybody talks crap about the refs at East vs. West, but every one of those guys is a high-level WAF master referee, so they're the best of the best.
Do you think that there is a little bit of nervousness about the lights, camera action, the profile of the match when
I think so.
A WAF championship where you're refereeing for a week to where there's like big money up for grabs, the whole world's watching.
I think so, and I think you don't really want to. I mean, at WAF, everything, and same with IFA, everything's so strict. Like, which is, I mean, I've always competed under strict rules, and I prefer them. I'm not a big loose rule person at all. Like, I feel like if you learn to pull under strict rules, you're going to be a better puller when you do go under loose rules because you're so used to things.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, you have these guys that are super rigid and super strict, and you have them being a little looser. So obviously sometimes they're going to miss things, right? Nobody's perfect. We're not robots. So
But competing under strict rules kind of forces the person to compete under control. You're not being sloppy. You know what I mean? Because you're so worried about.
Well, yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you learn to pull better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You learn to use the pad better than instead of being able to, like, I go back to Alan Fisher is how I look at it. Alan Fisher was used to pulling under loose rules in North America, went to WAF Worlds and fouled out because he's so used to pulling underneath, loose stuff.
So in the chat, pointed out that Engen will jump in if he doesn't like a ref decision.
I mean, he's allowed to.
How do you feel about that? Because, I mean, all promoters are not created equally.
I think it depends. I think it depends on the decision, right? Like, Engen is a high-level referee himself, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, Engen's ref some huge events in his day, so
I don't mind that he jumps in there.
I don't either. I think it's his event. He's a high-level referee himself, and if he feels like a call was made improperly, why can't he reverse the decision, right? It'd be like it's just like we were talking about earlier, Ryan, where if we can't agree on a call, we delegate to the head referee of the event, and he makes that call. He or she makes that call. It's essentially like he's the tournament head referee or the event head referee, and he's making the decision. It's no different.
Jay Queen, though, he did do that once at the last East versus West. I don't recall what it was, but it ended up just being a restart.
That's exactly how it always goes. If nobody can make a decision, it generally ends in a restart. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I've seen it. I've had it happen at events myself. So.
But I will say it was confusing. The last East versus West was confusing because there were matches that restarted, but no one said why they restarted. And I was like,
yeah, that comes. I mean, yeah, you're going to have that, especially when you're trying to televise, fouls and stuff like that. I mean, you're going to miss things like that.
Right.
And the guys, the guys in control of the lights were not on the ball.
Exactly. I think that could be fixed, just like Tim said with a headset. Then you're communicating, hey, we're at X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? It's boom, boom. Mm-hmm. So I think that's such a simple fix that it's really not an issue going on in the future, in my opinion.
Right.
Let me ask you guys a question. What is the match you're looking forward to the most at the High Five? If you had to pick one or two.
Well, list them all again, and I'll tell you. So we have Myrtila and Jablonski. We have Tom Holland and Bexel
Young.
Merlot match for me. Merlot and then Uncle John and Roger match.
Yeah, people talk. I mean, I've seen Mario pull. I watched him at Arizona State last year. Tim and I have a €2 bet on it. I think Merlot wins that match.
You have
a $200 bet on that?
No, a €2.
Oh, I thought you said $200 bet. I was like, damn.
No, €2.
Gotcha.
It's like $2.20.
Let me get my international money for a second.
Yeah.
Like €2.
To Jody's up. Mindaugas versus BJ is one of my favorites. But
that match could be interesting, and I think it all depends on how BJ's arm is that day, and it depends on who gets their spot first. So, because Mindaugas, if he gets that spot, man, BJ's in for a rough day. And I think if BJ can hit that back and kind of get, I don't think he can really. I mean, Mindaugas is a big guy. I don't know. This is a tough one. I think Mindaugas wins the match. I think, in my opinion, but it could be a screamer. But we'll see. Just €2.
Ooh.
That's €5. I got some of those in there.
Yeah. Is that Winston Churchill on the other side of that thing?
Yeah, we got Queen right here. Churchill on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Danielle Evanson pulling there as well?
Yeah, she's pulling Nadia.
Yeah.
Danielle's strong.
That should be good. I mean, it's going to be entertaining. You got an amazing commentary team. It's going to be
the Roger and the Uncle John match. They're essentially both pulling on their
off arm.
Yeah, their weak arm. So I don't have a clue on that one.
Yeah,
I mean John's big right now. John's big right now. I know that. I've seen him. He's a large lad.
What's he like? 260?
Probably, I would bet.
And Roger's like down to 230 or 235.
Maybe there'll be some call-outs after this one.
There could be.
I know that Uncle John was entertaining some call-outs on the left hand.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's going to be at Arizona, and I think that's going to be a tough tournament for anybody in any weight class. So,
Uncle John got his. He also has a match with Paul Passmore down the road too. By the way,
left-handed.
I would imagine
because Paul's left is way better than his right. Paul's right really hasn't been the same since him and Robbie.
So, I think that it would be a left-handed match. But did you say John versus Passmore?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think Passmore's a favorite.
That's a tough match for Uncle John. If he wins that, though, I mean,
that's huge if he wins that match.
I just think Paul's side pressure is just insane right now.
I think even if John gets his hand, Paul being able to finish this way is going to be really hard.
Jay Clean says Uncle John's like 500 pounds right now.
Yeah, give or take.
I don't know. A couple kilos,
It's not the heaviest John's been, but it's definitely a different body composition.
Yeah, he's really his shoulders are massive from what I've seen lately.
Yeah. I think I pulled John when he was like close to 300 pounds.
I think one of the matches at Knuckles Up that could be interesting is the Tom Holland match, and in reality, because Tom's fast on the start, like he's very fast. He's got a nasty hook and a nasty hit sideways, and it's can Beck get this involved?
That's my thing with that. I'm trying to, in my mind, do the weird arm wrestling math where we have Ryan Bowen in the mix there. How would he and Tom Holland match up? That's what I keep coming back to.
I mean, Ryan's a much heavier gentleman. Ryan was heavier in that match too, wasn't he? Against Beck?
Yeah.
So I don't have a clue. I mean, because Bowen's not a hook puller, really. He's an outside guy.
You know what they should do? Is Knuckles Up crew in the chat? Because I tell you what, the next event's September, right?
Yep.
You want to sell pay-per-views? A match everybody wants to see? They need to get it done and get it out the way. You do Bowen, RVJ, book it.
Well, RVJ's got a big match coming up with Jerome, so.
Yeah, but the next Knuckles Up is in September.
Yeah, they're pulling what?
Oh man, like what is the holdback? Because that's a very obvious match to make, right? Bowen versus RVJ.
I mean, they've talked enough shit to each other.
Coming to terms?
Well,
I don't have a clue.
If you notice, they have their own podcast show together now.
Yeah.
And and they're still on there talking about, come on. And Ryan's like, come on, you want the match, and RVJ is kind of like teasing that he wants it, but
can we touch on the fact that Andrei Sharkovich pinned Jerome Loud 3 times in that final there?
So does Jerome lose steam going into the RVJ match?
No, I don't think so. Here's why. Here's why. I think RVJ and Jerome are very similar in which they pull. They're both so physically gifted in their arm and their hand and stuff like that they'll both give stuff away in the setup and stuff. And I think that shot Jerome in the butt for his match against Andre, because Andre had everything before the start. So, and Jerome's a very yeah. I mean, and we're about to see how we'll see where Andre's at in 4 weeks, because he's pulling that 220 round robin. So it'll be interesting.
Sylvester's Talone. Asking what your schedule is, Jody.
World Series of Arm Wrestling qualifier in Fort Worth, Texas, July.
Yep. I
That
shall be there.
That is my next event that I'm training for. Kind of laying low because, like I said, got a new job, which means I'm on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to PTO and stuff. So I'm kind of building that up slowly, but this was already in the works anyway. So I won't be going to Arizona State. Kind of bummed about that, but rest assured, my ass will be in at Washington State, another one of Tim's events. That's always in December. So
Yeah, I was actually supposed to be in Louisiana this weekend because the Louisiana State Championship is happening. But unfortunately, my daughter fractured her wrist, and I'm dealing with that. So,
ouch, 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 ouch.
Yeah.
so that dad life trumps all. But yeah, my next event is Arizona for sure. Booked, ready to go. Training hard.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. And
Who
then I'll be
knows?
obviously in Fort Worth.
You might see me on the Knuckles Up sometime soon. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
Ryan, you have Manitoba Provincials. Have you got any matches lined up left-handed?
Yep.
Can you
Can't
talk about it?
Can't talk about it yet.
Hey, how about this? You want to? We go off the show and be like, "Hey, what's up, dude?"
Who that?
Oh, speaking of, hey, you see that? So,
Well, I mean, that's a home match for RBJ. He's up in that area, isn't he?
yeah, I mean, that right there, you see, and I'm not trying to tell him what to do, but make that match right there will be your main event. I don't give a damn who else you put on the card. That's your main event. End of. But like we all said, it's a match that probably should have happened a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. And they're slowly inching toward one another because, like I said, now those guys are doing a podcast together. So at some point, one has to think, hey, it's going to happen at some point, I would imagine.
I still like the people that think Ryan's a bum. I mean, Ryan has wins over some massive names. So
why would they say that though?
Yeah. I mean, he beat Dan Mosier.
Yeah,
that's not an easy, and they were in the same weight. That's not an easy win at the same weight with Dan.
Yeah.
So I mean, people on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get enough credit, but he does take matches that, like the Ron Bath one was risky for him.
Yeah, he definitely punches above his weight class, but you have to give the man credit for always striving to be better. So,
hey, you know what? I tune in. I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say, "Oh, this guy's this." Well, he's out training. What are you doing?
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
For it. A bumming character. Okay.
Oh man,
I don't know about that either. No, can't say a bad word about him.
But I like his journey he's doing on YouTube and his channel, day 54 of the lift or whatever. So I do like that because he's put in the work. It's like, okay, I got to get this. So
I'm just slandering people.
Well, did you see, Jody? I told Ryan earlier, but did you see that Todd Hutchings will no longer be pulling Keter Gallagher-Bayev on the 1st of June?
Why?
So he has a match booked with Krasimir Konstantinov at the next East vs. West, which has potential to be an amazingly awesome match. So now he is pulling the Ukrainian. Now I can't think of his name. He was Andrei Pushkar's protege. Oleg Petrenko.
Wow. I mean,
that's
not a bad
easy match.
Not a bad backup plan.
No, it's still an amazing match because Petrenko is a stud. So
yeah.
Now it's looking too.
It's time.
It is that time.
Any final thoughts before we get off the air?
Well, let's see here. 59-minute mark. I haven't cussed yet, so fuck.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, there it is.
Have I?
Oh.
Yeah. Just some culturally insensitive comments, Jody. That's okay.
Oh man. What's going on this weekend?
Manitoba Arm Wrestling Championships.
Louisiana State.
Yeah.
Louisiana State and what else?
Manitoba Championships.
Is that why you're in like in a booth where you echo?
No, I'm in my office because my
I
house
missed that.
is at my house. So yeah.
Well, good luck this weekend to everybody at the Louisiana State, Manitoba. Good luck, everybody. Pull safe, pull hard, and I'm excited because next
Yeah.
week is going to be like
Leading up to the next one, we'll schedule our show for next week a few days in advance because
You're flying out.
we won't be doing it on Friday because I'll be traveling to New Jersey. Looking forward to that.
oh, you
They
must
fly
go
you-
ahead and go live. Hey, on site.
Do they
Good.
fly you into Newark?
I believe it's Newark, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a connection in Toronto or something because
Yeah. I lived in Jersey. I lived in Jersey for like 3 years. So.
Winnipeg doesn't have direct flights to anywhere except for Cancun.
Oh, well, that's a nice place to go to. Sounds about nice right now.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Everyone. Thanks for tuning in, for jumping off, and we'll see you all next week.
Later.
Take care, everybody.